Hey. We're really excited with another episode of Beyond the Noise. Beyond the Noise with myself, Greg Walls, and coming to talk to you about all kinds of different topics. So our whole goal is to keep the athletes, coaches, parents, teachers, and everybody else informed with information that's necessary to move through day-to-day life, not only in just health and wellness and sports performance, but in also small business, other business, employee stuff, or just life. Because we all living on the same planet, we all got something to do. I'm gonna start today with a note that I'm gonna reach back towards the end of, and then let you guys know that I believe, like most of the nation, Carol Baskins did that. She definitely did that. With that being said, hey, today's show is brought to you by Dirt Food. Dirt Food. Dirt Food is a all organic, vegan, vegetarian product, and it is a granola and a spice. As a matter of fact, the spice is the secret ingredient in the granola. Just a half a teaspoon of dirt spice in a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. It turns your coffee or tea from acidic to alkaline. It's loaded with anti-inflammatories and antioxidant properties, and its main ingredient is what you would enjoy in that wonderful granola. So again, God made dirt, dirt don't hurt, eat dirt food. Nika Blunt does a great job with it. Shout out to Nika, and let's get into it. Today's guest I'm really excited about. Today's guest is a friend of mine. I'm gonna have him tell you guys a story of how we actually kept running into each other and felt like we needed to continue to have conversations. He is one of the premier brokers or real estate brokers in the DFW area. His own firm that he built from the ground up, High Point Real Estate and Associates, has up to 30 agents, and they service all across the DFW. He went to North Texas. We're not going to hold that against him. He's an excellent football player, but his passion was learning the game of business and being able to be self-sufficient. So he went out and did that. So I have him on the show. Really good friend of mine. Taught me quite a bit in a short period of time. Mr. Anthony Shelton.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man? How we doing,
Man, we're doing good. We're good. Thank you guys for having me on the show, first of all. So I really appreciate it, and we're glad to be here. For
awesome.
Sure.
I mean, we gonna fire questions at you. I got the lovely Miss Graciela Dagnino with me today. She's gonna be firing questions at you. I'll be firing questions at you. But we wanna get beyond the noise today. I'm telling you, we talk all the time. I don't want you to spend a lot of time in cliches. Let's talk about all of it. So let's get started, man. Hey, tell the people how we ended up in this spot today.
Man, I think it was probably about 4 years ago, maybe about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, about 4
years ago. We
yeah.
ended up running into him, and from a distance, like, man. At first, I was kind of like, I think I know this guy. I think I know him, and from a distance, and I kind of saw him again a few weeks later. We ran into each other, and actually in the parking lot, we just started talking, man. And then from there, it's like we were speaking the same language. Obviously, us being both athletes, we had that commonality, knowing some of the same people. And we just started talking, and then come to find out, hey, he was a business owner as well. So, and I was a business owner, and I was stepping out to, build the brand that I've built now with, a lot of hard work and dedication. And from there, it's just a common thread and bond, and we've been super cool, super tight since then. And I look to him for a lot of questions as he does me as well. And it's good to see him, just out, doing. And really winning in his arena, just as I want to do the same in my arena, and it just happens to be in real estate. So.
Well, I know that you're out there doing your thing, and I know people look up to you. He has an amazing reputation in the DFW. But I know we talk about in today's world, and we're all dealing with something that I want to address right off the top. As we sit in this room, 3 to 4 people deep, we're all trying to make sure we practice social distancing. We're taking this thing really serious, and here's why. And we were talking yesterday, you and I, about how they're throwing these numbers out here and how this virus is affecting small business, large business, corporations, but it's killing people. And these people, we talk about the numbers, but I think it's more important that we put some faces to these numbers and take this serious. So talk to me about what you're dealing with at this time right now.
Well, I mean, I think in the real estate industry, I'm looking at, a lot of the buyers and sellers, they have a lot of uncertainty right now. And anytime the buyers start to lose and sellers start to lose that, that confidence in, is this the right time, to be buying a property? Is this the right time to be selling a property? Is this the right time to be doing anything when it comes to anything financial, whether on the commercial or the residential side? It starts to kind of really slow our market down, and a market that was already on fire and hot due to, we got every corporation in America seems to come to the North Texas area, and I can give you a list of those, but with them coming in here now, it's kind of slowing us down because now they have that uncertainty, and that affects, guys like myself who is a business owner, and we got to be smart to say, okay, how do we, persevere and get through this challenging time? I think as a leader, you can't freak out. You can't do that. You definitely got to, slow down and say, okay, what do we need to focus on to get us through this time?
And you know what? That's a funny. It's funny you say that because I personally think about where do we draw that line between being pushy and being empathetic, or being able to help, or offering something in an arena that we know, but it might not be the right time. Like what is the focus? Because to me, it's real to me. There are people that I know that are very close to this situation. I got family in China that is very close to this situation. I got friends in California that are very close to this situation. So safety, health and safety is number one. At the same time, it's hard to concentrate on the health and safety of certain things when all this uncertainty with your own family or your own dollar or your own situation. How are you dealing with that? And you deal with agents. How are you helping them in this process?
Well, I think from a leadership perspective, the first thing that I do is make sure I don't freak out. If I start to freak out, they start to freak out, and that's just a leadership thing. So when you understand, leadership, that they're looking for me for, leadership, they're looking for me to answer questions. They're looking to see, okay, how do we get through this? What advice and counsel do I have to get through this? And it starts there first. And
what kind of questions you get?
How are we going to be able to sustain this? How much longer is this going to last? Is this going to stop even when we do come out of this quarantine deal? What's the market going to be like? Where's our interest rates going to be? Right. Is this still the right time to buy this commercial investment? So I'm getting a lot of those questions, and you got to be able to answer those with certainty, and I know that absolutely it is. I mean, there's still a lot of factors that point to absolutely this is a good time to do anything, from a real estate perspective, and you got to be able to convey that in a confident manner. I mean, obviously, if I start to waver in my confidence, then then they're going to pick up on that. But I'm very confident, and now it's still the right time to do that.
Why? Let's stay right there. Let's talk about, because if people are looking to you for confidence, and it's so much uncertainty, like you don't know, you get the information like I get the information. How do you keep from banging your head against the wall? You got a daughter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You got family. How do you put those things in perspective? Like, and I mean you, not, I mean, how do you deal in that? Because for me, it's reading and not talking to a lot of people.
Right, and sometimes you may need to take a step back and say, okay, let me get all the information that I can gather. I guess for me, the reason I don't freak out is a little bit, we got to understand my background first.
Talk about
growing up dirt poor, living in shelters, not having anything, and understand all the hard work that I put in to get to this point has given me a resolve and a different type of confidence. Not that we want to lose everything, but if I ever did, then I know I have the knowledge to turn around and build it all back up again. And that's just where that confidence comes in. But I think by me having that, I guess that internal confidence to say, hey, don't freak out. Let's gather all the facts. Let's gather all the information before we make any decisions on which route we should go. And I think that's the first thing that I do.
Do people assist you in your decision making, or do you take information from others, but ultimately you make the ultimate decision?
Absolutely, and I have other mentors and people that I look up to or I'm connected with, and I'll ask them different questions and kind of get their take on different stuff, and from there it's like, okay, let me gather their advice and what they're seeing, and we kind of put that together to say, okay, this is what I feel that we should go this direction or we should do this, and then we kind of lay that blueprint out. And you kind of follow it out, and you just got to make that what I call that tough decision. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to get through it. But ultimately, it all really starts to we all had to come together. You know, situations like this where they're a small business owner, you know, just really the American people in general, I think we all need to come together and understand, okay, you know, what do we want tomorrow to look like, and let's start building toward that.
Well, it's funny you say that because I think that people all want the same stuff at the root. We all want to be safe. Everybody. I ain't never heard nobody go out there and be like, "Hey, I'm looking for so much danger today. I can't wait." You know, we all want to be safe. We all want to make sure that we can eat.
Yes.
You know, we all want to make sure that we have some kind of shelter. Like we all want those things. Everything else we can go out and get.
True.
So in a situation like this, to where there is no blame. We can just pay attention. Like, it's not just attacking young people. It's not just attacking old people. Not just teenagers lost their jobs. You know, we're talking about you got everybody at a standstill.
Everybody.
And in a place where you were taught to move
Yes.
and to shake and to go. And you got 30 people that you
33.
look over.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of questions do you get outside of the normal standard? Hey, what are we gonna do with this house? Because I know some people concerned about what's gonna happen in 30 days.
Right, 30, 60, 90 days. I mean, I got a lot of a lot of the agents are, they're questioning how, their financial stability over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and is the market going to return? And if it does, is it going to, how are we going to be able to, proceed forward if this continues? And a lot of them are the breadwinners.
Let's talk about let's talk about the market. Like it's a market for everything. When people hear the market, they think stock market, but I'm talking about your market, the housing market, right? Mm-hmm. Is the fitness market or the sports performance market going to return? Absolutely. It's just going to be about the way we go about it, and kids are going to go out and they're going to be training like crazy, but things aren't going to be the way they used to be. And if we don't recognize that, we all going to miss a large opportunity in some spots. But the housing market, like, you can't show houses. How do you? What kind of things would you do to make a transition into the world that it looks like that we going in?
Yeah, well, everything's going virtual now. I mean, you'd be amazing now. We're making sure we take care of everything, and we have our virtual online showings, virtual. We have Matterport come in where you can literally walk through the house, from your cell phone, from your computer, from your iPad. Whether you drive by the house or not, you have the opportunity to walk through that house just like you're being there. And I think we're using and leveraging technology to really help and streamline our business, which is going to make us, more efficient and do things a little different. Because again, back in the day, it was about, let's go take a look at the house and walk around. Now we have to do it from a total different standpoint, and you're looking at it virtually and making decisions, based off of what you see and, the other factors, making sure, okay, is this in the price point that you want? Is it in the school district that you want?
Right.
Is the resale value going to be there 5-6 years down the road? Does it have this, the amenities that you're looking for, as the number of bedrooms or bathrooms, things like that?
Yeah.
So it's actually changing the way that we are actually going to be doing business, I think, going forward. And not just our industry, but a lot of industry, but in my market for sure.
So what would you need to do in order to stay ahead of that curve? How would you, like, you got young cats, because when people start buying houses, people gonna want to get out there and start trying to sell houses.
Absolutely.
Because you gotta have somewhere to live.
Oh, absolutely.
Right now, everybody's concerned about their next day, but we still have to look 30, 60, 90, just like you said. So what are you doing now that is allowing you to stay in the mix with your current clients, people that you had to put things on hold for?
Well, the first things you're doing, you want to make sure you touch base with them and you're communicating with them. Stay in contact with them. Make sure they're hearing your voice. Make sure you're talking to them. Make sure you're still being that same vocal leader that you were when the market was what it was 60 days ago, 90 days ago. Mm-hmm. So I think I started there, making sure you just touching base with them, saying, hey, look, everything's going to be all right. We're going to get through this. And then like I said earlier, taking the technology piece and really pushing the envelope on that and increasing that. Just because that's where we're going, that's where we're at, and I think that's going to forever be in our market now. Whether on the residential and commercial side, it's really increasing, virtual walkthroughs, whether it's a home or even if it's a commercial building. Let's start adding that to it, to where people can do that. I mean, we have a lot of people who are wanting to make large purchases of commercial buildings, $4, $5, $6 million buildings, and they need to be able to see, obviously get all the the information about that particular building, but hey, well, let's walk through it. Well, since we can't do a quick tour, let's do it online. So those two things there for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna switch I'm gonna switch topics up on you, but before I do that, I want to make sure I remind you guys that dirt food is where we need to be. I know the CDC is telling us that we need to drink hot liquids, coffee, even drink a little bit of warm water, and put a little bit of citrus in it. But I will tell you that we should also try to drop a little bit of that good old dirt food coffee spice in it. Today, most of us are within 1 degree of separation from someone fighting cancer, diabetes, obesity, or heart disease, and right now this virus that we're all concerned about. Okay, the common thread is inflammation and acidity. Okay, if we want to get rid of the common thread, we want to cut that thread, we want to use dirt food. Just a half a teaspoon of dirt spice in a cup of coffee will turn it from acidic to alkaline. It's loaded with anti-inflammatories, antioxidants, and all the things that taste good as a snack, especially if you're vegan. It's organic, it's gluten-free, it's vegetarian friendly, it's vegan friendly, no artificial sugars, no processed sugars, no artificial flavors. It is good. It's not complicated. God made dirt. Dirt don't hurt. Man, let's talk about how you became a business owner. I mean, why did you go to college? Why North Texas? And how did you get on? Because from my understanding, you got on. You didn't use bank loans. Didn't nobody put you on. You got on. You are the epitome of putting yourself on and paying attention to the cats that gave you info. So let's talk about you transitioning from football to finishing school to broker to business owner. Let's talk about it, because some people need to hear that they can do the same thing.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like I think from day one, I always knew I wanted to have some level of financial freedom. I knew from day one, just because who I am, my personality, that I knew the giftings that God has given me, and I always wanted to rely and use those giftings. So after football was over, it was about, man, how do I redefine myself, and what industry, what lane do I want to do that in? So I jumped into corporate America for about 7 years, and was a licensed loan officer, so I got a chance to understand how money works. And I think for me, that was huge.
Let me ask you this, because I'm so glad you said that, because I just learned how money worked about 6 months ago, and I'm 41 years old. The question is, what is it? What is it about that do you have to make a lot of money to be financially free?
No.
What does that mean? Like, I can have $2 million and be financially chained. Like help. What's financial freedom?
Well, and everybody's definition is going to be different, but mine were I wanted to be able to live the life that I wanted, be comfortable with that, and then make those decisions according to that, according to that lifestyle that I wanted to live. And I knew of certain things like that. I know I'm gonna have to do certain things, but first, before I did any of that, I wanted to sit down and learn how money worked. Because again, I grew up dirt poor, living in shelters, not really understanding how money works, not understanding how investment works, not understanding how to make your money work for you, and not even really understanding how do I put myself in a position to even own a business. Like, I don't even know what that looks like, let alone run the business. The only thing I knew growing up is he's going to be an athlete, an entertainer, rapper, or drug dealer. That's all we saw out in the hood. I didn't want that latter one because I knew where that leads. I knew where that leads to.
Did you write a business plan when you started your business?
I did. I actually did. Before I started everything, I actually had a business plan, only because the people that I was looking to for mentorship and leadership, they kept talking about business plans and talking about numbers, and I'm sitting in this meeting, with these are some big time business owners. So I'm sitting in these meetings and they're going over their business plan, and I'm sitting at the table and I got nothing. I'm like, what is this business plan you guys are talking about? So they kind of had to slow everything down and pull me in, so to speak, say, this is what you need to do. You need to do this, 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 and this, and this is your homework. And that was the first beginning, roads of me really starting and looking at my business as a business and everything that I do, whether the way I was spending, where I was spending my time, how to even start the business, how to get that, legally up and running and creating, whether it's an LLC, an S corp, or whatever it may be, how to do all of that.
So, how old were you when you started trying to learn about money? When you were interested in learning, not they were just interested in teaching?
I think it was probably when I was about 25, honestly.
Really?
When I was about 25 years old. And I started, working in the financial industry. It was countrywide. It no longer exists now. I started on the mortgage side, but I started to understand I got a chance to talk to a lot of people who were doing really well financially all across the world. And just hearing their stories and being on the phone. I mean, some of the people, I would sit on the phone an hour, 2-3 hours, and they would give me, they give me the tips on, okay, this is what they're doing, and this is what they're doing in real estate and with finances, and they're taking a home equity line of credit out to start a business, or the things like that. And I was just very curious on how that money was working and how they was making that money work for them.
So when did you realize like this? Because this might not have been your thing. It sounded like this wasn't your thing coming out of school.
No, absolutely wasn't. If it wasn't for one of my buddies who was actually working there, to talk about the power of relationships, he was the one that got me on. So here I am coming out of North Texas, green, and like, okay, what's my next step? I guess I got to go work and put some money in my pocket, because I ain't able to be a career student forever and take advantage of all those opportunities. So my mom was like, hey, you need to do something,
Yeah.
You got to go do something. You can't stay around here.
You got to start moving on.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do this around here. So, I actually, talked to one of my buddies, and he was like, "Well, let me go talk to one of my VPs, and let's see what he can do." And I ended up getting in, doing really well on the interview, and that's when it all started right there. So I started to understand how money really works, and start talking to people, and I started putting it together.
What does that mean? How money really works? Like when you say that, because listen, I'm telling you, man, I'm like, that sounds good, and then somebody like me goes, man, I'm glad he understood how money really works, because I still don't. But I know how to make money.
Right.
Really good at that.
But do you know how to keep it though?
That's the thing. So for me, financial freedom, no, I don't.
Gotcha.
For me, financial freedom is, if I need $1, I can call mine. That means all the bills are paid, all the people are paid, and then at the end of the day, I have $1, I can do whatever I want to do.
Well, that means you're profitable.
Exactly.
So that means you're profitable. So if you're looking at, from a P&L, profit and loss standpoint, every single month you need to look at all your expenses and everything that's coming in. So you look at, okay, this is what came in.
Or your bills, because most
Correct.
people are just looking at your bills.
Bills, expenses, and everything else, all that goes in there. So okay, at the end of the month, what's left over. If that's a red number, you're not profitable, and you keep on doing that, then that's where you're gonna go out of business.
Did you need money to get started?
No, I say no and yes.
All right, talk to me about it.
I say no because I had to do it one brick at a time, so I did it the old-fashioned way.
Okay.
I had to build this house one brick at a time, and it took me a whole lot longer to build, a solid foundation to build a business on. Had I had capital, then I probably could have, probably sped up, the curve, so to speak. But I didn't want to do that because now I was in debt. So the other side of that coin is, if I went to the bank and said, hey, can I take a loan out for $200,000? Sure, we can. Well, there's going to be an interest rate attached to that. There's going to be some interest, attached to that. So as I make those payments, now I have that that's over my head every single night when I go to sleep, and that's going to go on the expenses side of me running this business. So I didn't want to do it that way, because now I feel like, okay, man, I have to owe someone. That's more expenses. So I said, can I do this the way of bootstrapping it, and honestly, man, to be quite honest with you, living well below my means, well below.
And a lot of times, as a business owner, most business owners do live below their means. They just, the business itself outspends the dollars that they make. So I'm trying to, like, in a time like this where the world is at a halt. So I'm talking about, I know trainers that went from 10 clients a day, 8 clients a day, 15 clients a week, to let's get online and figure out the rest of this stuff. And I'm talking about fully established, well equipped, and now that I see online trying to do this and do that, and in a position where it looks like a scramble or a response, and it's the same way in your business. So when you say that, there are a lot of small business owners that they eat last, you know what I'm saying? Because they're still trying to make this thing make sense.
Right.
How did you know? Like, it's not about you buying that car; it's about you getting that thing for the business.
There you go.
It not turning itself over.
Delayed my gratification, first of all, and especially at a time like this with this coronavirus, I think everybody kind of really sit down and say, let's look at my finances and see where I was spending the majority of my money. And I started to do that. Even now, like a lot of stuff was on, automatic pay with my credit card. Well, let me stop all that and let's kind of look at everything. Let me look at and see what's giving me a return. And I call it red light, green light. If after 90 days I don't have a return, an ROI off the money that I'm investing in something, I have to stop it. I got to stop it. I can't do that anymore. There's no point for me giving you another 3, 6, 6 months and going further in that hole. And I think a lot of business owners don't look at it from that standpoint. It's like, I'm just going to throw, $5,000, $10,000, at this and see what happens. No, you can't do it that way. You got to go, okay, this is working for my business, but this isn't. Well, you take the part that's not working, and let's say if that was, $5,000 a month, you take that $5,000 a month, you put it in something where you're getting a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 ratio back, and that's how you're going to become more profitable, because you took the money where it was not working. You start putting it in areas that it was working.
Do these principles work in many businesses, or is it just real estate that you're talking about?
It's going to work in any business.
It's going to work everywhere.
Unless you're running a non-profit, which they do the exact same thing, that you can't show any profits at the end of the year. The exact same thing. If you're worried about an ROI and you're trying to run a profitable business, absolutely, you got to be able to look at the expenses and say, this isn't working for me. I got to stop this, and I need to put this, I need to put this money somewhere else.
So we just got you out of North Texas. What position you played in North Texas?
When I was a linebacker.
Was you trying to go to the NFL?
Yeah, that's the only thing I knew.
Talk to me about what happened. When did you realize that the NFL thing might not work the way you needed to, and now you have to make a transition from the name on your back to the name on the front?
Man, that's tough, man. When I tore the ligaments in my knee, everything kind of just stopped.
Was you cold?
What's up?
Or was you alright? Could you ball?
Oh man, come on, man. Come on, man.
I gotta ask, man.
Show
me the receipts, man. I gotta ask.
I got all the receipts to show you. I got the receipts, newspaper clips. Absolutely.
Yeah, I need the receipts.
Man, I put a lot of hard work into being a great athlete, so absolutely. So, and then obviously when he got hurt, I mean, you probably know it's a business for them. So when you get hurt, they kind of move you to the side, like I was saying just a minute ago. And from there, I was start to understand, okay, well, if I don't go to the NFL, what am I going to do? And at that point, I had to really reinvent who I was and find my identity and my gifts. And that's really the toughest thing, because a lot of people don't do that. You got to find your gift, and this is my gift. And I put so much into really working this craft, working my gift, to make sure that I'm doing what's right with it.
Did you get a shot at the NFL?
No.
You didn't? Man, that's tough. So, because I'm asking that to say, so that dream, at what age you felt like you could see that thing going away?
I was probably 19, 20
so
years old.
So you failed for the first time at around 19?
Oh, absolutely. Failed big time.
How'd you deal with that?
8 months depressed.
What's that mean?
Man, for that 8 months, for the next 8 months, I just in limbo, man. I was in la la land. Didn't know what to do. Didn't know where I was going to go. Didn't know how I was going to respond, because that's all I knew. Everything that I did was sports and sports related, and I identified so much as an athlete.
That's
all I knew, and I can speak that language and watch film with the best of them and do all that, because that was the arena and that was the world that I was in. Once that was snatched up away from me, it's like, man, I got to re-identify who I am and what I want and what I want to do.
But when you say depression, because I went through a depression, man. The first time I failed was when I got cut, and I'm talking about like really failed. Because to me, failure, although necessary, you want it to be as few and far between as possible. And failure is something you can't come back from. Like
correct.
You lost the Super Bowl. You can play in another Super Bowl, but you failed to win this Super Bowl. So take that. So if you get cut and you don't play again, you fail to reach that goal. So I mean, for like 15 months, man, I would go to work. I would give everything I had at work, and after work, I was just there.
So you was just existing.
And I'm talking about that depression is so real. It's like you got a headache, you ain't hungry. And my feeling for depression for me it wasn't that, it wasn't woe is me.
No.
I felt like you couldn't help me. I felt like there was no help. And that helplessness is where you get lost. And I don't care how it comes about. It's if you have an identity and that identity gets taken without you having say in it, it changes the way you look at things. So what did that failure do for you to continue moving with an athletic attitude?
Well, what I did, I mean, obviously, same thing like you said, but what I used is I used that for fuel, honestly. So I had to, like I said, I had to re-identify and who is Anthony? What does Anthony want to do? What is it that I really want to do? And I used that, for fuel. Said, okay, I can't, I'm not gonna be, it's not gonna be in the football arena. Let me do something else. Where else can I go? What else can I do? What am I passionate about? What do I want to learn about? And what do I want my life to look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now? And that's kind of where it started. So I used that, that failure in a sense of, okay, it won't be in football. Let me use this for fuel. And I used that fuel to say, you know what, let me go out and learn as much as I can. And it was going to be about, if I want to do something in the financial industry, let me learn how this money works. That way I can be financially free. I don't necessarily have to have, a boss per se, or telling them I got to come in and work, 40, 60, 80 hours a week and, for the next 40 years of my life to live on 40% of my income. Like, no, that wasn't for me. So I used that for fuel just to kind of really push me to start learning. And once I understand how the rules work when it comes to finances, it became dangerous.
Grayson, what are you scared of? Grayson, what are you afraid of? Getting called out like that in the middle of the
Yeah, that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, actually I do.
Okay.
Disappointing the people closest to me.
What does that mean?
I don't know, for a majority of my life, people have always told me how they can see things in me that I don't necessarily see or neither agree nor disagree with, but
Makes you feel responsible to live up to those things.
like a superhero when they're like telling you you're Superman, but you're not. You don't see the guy.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes so much sense. So what do you do about that fear? Like, cause we all have a certain feeling when we do something for the first time. Like when we do our first voiceover, or we train our first session, or like, when we have our first meeting and we're sitting in there trying to close the deal. We all get a little nervous, but that's not scary. Like, what are you actually afraid of? That's just nervousness. I'll come back to you on that. What are you afraid of, Anthony? Because I mean, you can't. I'm concerned about anybody who has no fear. I'm afraid of hippos, and I can go on for 3 or 4 hours talking about why I'm afraid of hippos. I'm afraid of what's it called? Dementia.
Okay.
Like I'm really afraid that of dementia. It makes me really nervous, and then I'm afraid of being burned in a high degree and not dying. And I'm just keeping it real with the public.
Right.
Like everything else, I feel like I can deal with. Everything else, I feel like it's a part of the experience, and let's see what happens. I say that all the time. Hey, let's see what happens. What are you afraid of?
Man, honestly, I think for me, the first thing that comes to my mind every single time is, afraid of failing my daughter.
What does that mean?
Not really being there. Obviously, I got a 7-year-old. She's 7, and I remember when she was born, me having just this uncontrollable anxiety and just talking to my mom, and it was like, Mom, my dad was never around. My biological father was never around. I thought, okay, when I was, like a little older, we'll have this conversation on, man, why weren't you around? What was going on? Just because my mom didn't work. Like, let's talk about this from man to man. But again, on my freshman year, when I did tear my ligaments in my knee, he actually passed away cancer. So I was 19 years old. Never got the opportunity to have that conversation. So I promised myself that when I did, have kids, then if God allowed me to do that and blessed me with that I was going to always be there. And that's the promise that I made, to my little girl. So when people ask me, what are you scared of? I'm scared of failing as a father. And the only way I'm going to do that is just be absent. And that just can't happen.
So how you dealing with, you got to be cautious about hugging her. You
tough.
Can't see her like you want to. I mean, I saw a clip, man, that really touched my heart. Shoot, today actually, there was a doctor who was treating patients, and he saw a son. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm from the South. I'm from the country, man. We greet with hard dap, tight hugs. Your auntie grabbing you by your head, twisting side to side. Baby, so good to see you. Now you shoot somebody a half elbow and like, hey,
it's different.
Don't sneeze in the store. Everybody got
everybody looking at you.
Yeah, looking at you. That's that's a dangerous way to be for people who are used to connecting with people.
So now, and it's extremely tough because that's what we do. I mean, every time I see her, I hug her, I pick her up, kiss her, let her know. So now I'm just doing it with more words, making sure that, Daddy loves you, and making sure I'm being more, vocal on everything when it comes to her. And as, yeah, she's 7 and she don't understand the full magnitude of what's going on. Because she's used to that. Every time I see Daddy, he's gonna hug me, gonna pick me up,
Right.
we're gonna talk, and we're gonna make sure everything is good. But yeah, so through this time, we just got to do things a little bit different until we get through this, and she understands that because I can only tell her and keep showing her and everything that I'm doing. So eventually we'll be able to get back to those hugs and things like that. But right now you just got and she understands it to a certain degree, and I think that helps and makes it a little easier. Had she probably, had she been a little bit younger, maybe not, but this is kind of, we just got to get through it, get through it together.
Yeah. And now that we live in this world of independent collectiveness, everybody wants to be a star or an entrepreneur or have their own this or have their own brand or their own logo or have their own voice in the world. I mean, I got to take a page out of my mama's book. Shout out to Nisi. If you're going to be talking about it, you better have something to say.
Yeah.
At this time, we go out there and we try to do things without learning or understanding how it actually works. Actually, that's how most great businesses get started. Because if you kind of try to figure out how it all works, you never get started.
True.
But you decided to do your own thing when you was doing well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Like, from my understanding, you was one of the top dogs before you left to do your own thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Your revenue was never in a dire situation. No. So why do that? Like, what is that independence? And then the responsibility of looking after the people that say, yo, I want to rock with you. I want to come work for you. I want to come be a part of what you're doing. And now you're at this point. Nobody ever saw this. Do they still want to rock with you?
Yeah.
Do they still want to come work for you? Because now we get to find out. We get to find out who's looking out for what. So how do you deal with that kind of responsibility in a time where you need to have answers?
Man, I embrace it, and I look forward to those opportunities. I embrace that because I really feel like, so many people run from, oh man, there's so many responsibilities, but there's nothing out there in life that's going to be worth anything that you're not going to have to put something in. I mean, if you want a great reward out of something, you got to put a lot of time, energy, and effort into it. And that's kind of what I told myself. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with it, but that's actually what I'm going to. I'm bringing that on. I want the responsibility, because I understand leadership, and again, me working that gift that God has given me, being a true leader. I want to use those leadership abilities to the best of my abilities, and it's going to open up other doors for me. So I jumped. I mean, I could have stayed where I was at and did very well, and life would have been great. But I knew that there was more in me, so I said I'm gonna bet on me for once.
Okay.
Instead of betting for somebody else, making somebody else rich, how about I bet on me? And that's what I did.
Yeah, right on.
At the end of the day, I just bet on myself.
Love it. And then with that, I think everybody else should go out there and bet on themselves too. And while you're out there, you need to get them high liquids in your system, just like the CDC says. And while you're doing that, you need to find a way to get some of that dirt food, coffee spice, or some of that good old granola in your life. I know that they deliver to your doorstep with a smile, sometimes with a note. It is organic, it's vegetarian, it is vegan friendly, it's gluten free, and it's a whole bunch of other good things that I can talk about for quite some time. Like I said before, God made dirt don't hurt. Yes, ma'am, Gracie, what are you afraid of?
Well, actually, I have someone who wanted to share what they're afraid of on Instagram.
Go with it. As a matter of fact, let everybody put it out there. What are you afraid of? Let's talk about it.
She said not being the best and or being better at my craft as others.
Okay. How old is she?
Jace is
okay. All right. So great. Jace, shout out to Jace. Jace works with us. Not being your best, well, I'll say it like this. Not being your best is not subjective. It's actually real, and you can measure it. And you measure it from your max effort at the beginning. So if you're afraid of not being your best, you need to max out to failure. Because that's how you find out what your best is. If you're afraid to not hit that mark, then you'll never know what your best is. I mean, most people, to me, and you guys jump in at any time, to me, now is the time to screw it up. You got all this time on your hand, like all the things. If you there and there's a girl that you actually like, and this for all my young high school cats, if there's a girl out there that you like and you respectable, you know what I'm saying, and you act like you got some sense, now is the time. You might want to call her, tell her how you feel, because you don't know when you're gonna see her again.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You might want to let her know what it looks like. I mean, all you people that's in the house with your kids, and now you got to go back and you got to learn math and you got to learn history. I think it's a great time to see how much those kids actually get on those teachers' nerves. All you teachers out there who are trying to figure out how this online stuff works, and all of you teachers are, man, we should do it like this, and I think they should do it like that. Well, now you get the time to do it like this and to do it like that.
Your pick.
You know what I'm saying? It's all up to you. We're in a time now where the most helpful thing you can do is help yourself.
Yeah,
Help yourself. Find out how money works. As a matter of fact, I'm coming right back to you, man. I just found out like the basics of economics probably about 3 months ago. I'm 41 years old and I ain't afraid to say this. I made enough mistakes chasing what people tell me, and now I understand that it works a certain way. But everybody who got YouTube, there's a cat named Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio, I think, is the owner of, he started was it Avocare? He started Herbalife Avocare. He started something. He's a big time hedge fund investor. But he has a video on YouTube that says Economics Explained in 30 minutes. Every young person who thinks they want to do anything for themselves, I don't care how old you are, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what family you come from, watch that video 100 times. Watch that video 100 times. You're not going to get that in school, not that kind of basic fundamental, and you're going to get it late when you get it, and usually it costs you when you get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is of no fault to any teacher.
Well, not teacher, but again, they don't teach financial literacy in school. And then every time I question that, I think we should do more, more classes and schooling around financial literacy, how money works.
Now, I remember what ROI was when I was 31.
Yeah, ROI, return on investments. I mean, we need to start talking about all of this. If you put, if you put money in and you get that same money out, all that, you got to be able to. We need to do more educating, especially our communities on business and financial literacy. Absolutely, how debt works. Power of relationships. I mean, that one is a huge. I mean, there's some relationships out here that is actually better than money and currency. I mean, that's huge, man. When you understand how these relationships work, we had this saying that we should say up in North Texas all the time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people, use it and said it a lot too. And the saying when it's not the grades you make, it's the hands you shake. And if you shake in the right hands, man, it opens up the right doors and it gives you an opportunity to not only learn, but man, you can cut down so many different years and put your business on fast forward, so to speak, because you got the right people speaking and mentoring and pouring into you. And I think that for me that was huge, being exposed and sitting in a room with 20 different people who were business owners, and us going over the numbers portion when we got to that numbers, and we literally sitting at a table, all looking at each other and all taking accountability and being responsible for our business. And the first question that we had to, the first question they asked is, "Are you profitable this month?"
Man,
it was either yes or no. There was
there
was no gray, and there was no because of this, that, and the other. It was just flat out yes or no. And I think being held accountable, in your peers when there's other business owners in the room. And then all that, we opened up and we shared tips and tricks, and this is what we were doing, and this is this is what we're doing to help us, and this is working for us, and this is not working. You may want to try this, you may want to try that, and just really pouring into each other and really being transparent. Because I think a lot of people can't they don't want that vulnerability to be transparent, but man, just be able to be transparent in a room like that is huge.
Grace, and you're an independent contractor. I mean, Anthony, you're a business owner. I mean, what do you think at this time that we're dealing in the most important thing to have when dealing with a situation like this, and what keeps you relevant to your current clientele or even prospects or organic audience? What kind of things can you do that may look like it's not going to turn over a dollar, but you know you're being helpful. You know you're building a relationship. And what kind of things are you doing in order to stay relevant?
Continued communication. Honestly.
Communication, that's the key.
Just making sure that they know that it's not like a time I get to sleep in because I'm not training at 5:30 for them, but more like I'm using that time to find a way to still provide a similar opportunity for them that I would otherwise.
Got it. What about you?
Same thing, making sure I'm staying in communication. Honestly, I'm just really using this time to really perfect my craft. And I put so much time into really wanting to be the best.
Yeah.
I put so much pressure on myself to say, okay, how can I be different? How can I stand out? I just don't want to be, one of the brokers in the crowd. Like, I want to be able to stand out and be one of the leaders in there. So just using this time to perfect my craft, stay on top of my marketing.
How are you reading? You keeping up on the rules? Like
Absolutely. Keeping up on the rules,
yeah,
still
like
reading.
How are we,
Still looking at what's going on in the market, still, make sure I keep my my computer in front of me, seeing what houses are sold, what commercial buildings going under contract, who's doing deals, who's not doing deals, who's answering their phone, who's not answering their phone, stuff like that. So I'm using all of that to my advantage because right now, you got an opportunity with this pause here to, level the playing field, so to speak. Kind of gives you an intermission and a breather to say, okay, I either gonna let this, affect and hurt me, or I can utilize this to, go out and, try to get better, get sharper. And if I can get better, then when we do get back to business, I'm just that, I'm one step ahead of you. And that's all I need. That one step could be the difference between winning and losing.
What do you say? What do you think about when people when people dismiss what we're actually living through right now? Like, I don't think it's as bad as they say, or it's only this percentage, or it's not as bad as the media makes it sound. Like, what would you say to that? Like, because I know you got, like I said, you got a daughter, you got people in different parts of, I got people in my hometown. I just found out there are 27 confirmed cases.
Yeah.
That means in my hometown, it's probably 20 people that I know. But I'm gonna make it make sense real quick. I'm asking that, and I don't want to go long, but I'm saying that I'm listening to these numbers, and I'm listening to, 2 million people may get infected, and then 2% mortality. Well, people say, well, it's only 2%. Well, what's 2% of 2 million? 20,000? Is that
No.
right? 2%?
200,000?
No, that's 10%.
10.
All right.
$20,000.
Yeah.
$20,000.
So let's say
20,000.
20,000. It's 10,500 people in my hometown. That's my hometown twice. Dead.
No.
You know what I'm saying? There's 800 and some people in Mississippi.
Well, when you start putting faces to them, it's different.
Yeah, and
And anybody can say a number. We can sit here and throw numbers, and you don't take that
Right.
ownership and meaning. But when you start saying, wait a minute here, when somebody in your family gets affected, then it becomes real. Now it's like, I need to take this serious. And, I think we all need to take it serious from the jump to see if we can minimize this. And let's get back to business as usual as quick as we can. But the only way we're going to do that is by us taking this serious and saying, okay, what can we do to, not further this on, and what can I do? What's my part? How can I help?
And that's what I'm saying, because I know some faces in China, and I want everybody that's listening, please understand what I'm saying. Like, when we say things like, well, it's over there in China and they this and that, well, guess what? There is a human being named Jasmine Cochran who I love more than anybody else, because that's my sister who lives over there with her husband James and my 2 nieces, Judah and Jael. Now, Judah has asthma, so she's high risk.
Yes.
So I just gave you 4 names to those 4 numbers.
Yeah.
I got friends, Crazy Pants, and my girlfriend Michelle, Anika out there in California. Those are 3 names, and her kids, Courtney and Anthony, and on a full lockdown.
Yeah.
So when we can't dismiss, this is a people situation.
Yes.
And we're treading lightly right now because we want to talk about business and we want to talk about certain things, but at the same time, we got to walk in the gray, because we're not trying to sell you anything or make you believe something that's not real. So it's a time now where the best thing I think some people can do to help is actually listen to the information that you're getting, and don't walk around in ignorance. For all of our Bible people out there who read that Bible all the time, and regardless of what you believe what you believe. But there is a line in Proverbs that says, "In all thy getting, get understanding."
Yeah.
You know, don't be ignorant. You know, get some understanding. So, with that being said, you're maneuvering with your people in this. How you think you'll come out the back end of this?
Me, honestly, I guess my heart is telling me we're gonna come out even stronger, and even better. And I really believe that because I'm utilizing this time to try to get better, and I'm hoping that they are too. And so that way, when it's time to say, hey, let's go back to business as usual,
Right on.
you know, we're fresh, we're rested, you know, we're healthy, we're whole, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, I wanna buy homes for Hopkins. I'm gonna come in your office. I unleash this bulldog. I'm finna go out there and hit the street. What do I need to know? And I ain't talking about, don't give me the hard work and that. What do I need? What kind of paperwork do I need? Where do I need to look for houses? What numbers am I looking for? Because there's somebody out there that's like, well, I do work hard. I am dedicated, and I ain't sold no houses. I've been trying to 6 months. What do I need to do?
For me, it always starts with mentorship, because you don't have to go out there and recreate the wheel. You know, I had some good mentors who, you know, really sat down, opened up their book of business, said, this is how you do this.
Mm-hmm. What's step one? What do I need in order to sell a house?
Got knowledge first.
Okay. And then, is there any certifications and paperwork I need to
Yeah,
get?
yeah, well, you got to go through the licensing to get licensed,
So,
sit through
I
the
gotta
state of
get my
trade.
license.
Yes, got to do the classes.
Okay.
So as soon as you take, I think it's like 6 or 7 different real estate classes, courses that they'll have you take, and after that you have to take a state test.
I'm a great salesperson.
Okay.
Right? I'm cold and I just passed the test.
Okay.
What should I expect when I first start out selling homes? Let's be real. I know I ain't finna go sell $2 million homes to $2 million people. What's the grind? How do I bypass the disappointment with an understanding of it's gonna take me a minute?
Well, you could do that because it all really depends on your database. You know, your database is really what's going to
So I
carry
gotta
you
build
through.
a database.
Build that database first. I mean, if you don't have a database, then you really got nothing. And getting them to understand that's the first place. Again, these people already probably know you. They trust you. Absolutely. If they know you and trust you already, they're probably 99.9% chance of likely to do business with you over somebody that they don't know. So,
what's the difference between the database and an audience?
Relationships.
Yeah, and let's make it even more literal. That means we can contact each other.
Oh, absolutely.
In an audience, maybe you can just contact me.
Yeah.
But in a service business, you have to have a database.
Have to.
Like, we have 3,000 people that are fans of our page, but we got a 13,000 person database. Now, it took 7 years to build that.
Right.
But, and I don't know what, Grace, 3 to 5% are consistent in communication internal, but 13,000. Okay, so building a database is the most important thing.
Crucial.
That you
That's going to be the difference between you winning and losing.
Can you start a business without money?
Yes. Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Yes, you can.
I started.
Now, when you say money, like you just said, they got a traditional route to go to get a loan and borrow a loan. Did you have to do all that? No, you didn't have to, because what I did is I knew that this was one of my goals. So I said, okay, because I was already in the industry, already at the firm, doing really well there. So I started taking some of those funds and proceeds and started putting those away because I knew I was going to take this next step. Mm-hmm. So I used my own capital in order to do that, because I didn't want to jump out there and just me personally. I've always had to deal with just owing people and loans and things of that nature. Like, I didn't want to have to owe any bank, any money. So I did it myself. Is it the tougher way? Oh, absolutely. I took the long road, but there's really no shortcuts, and I had to build it one brick at a time. But I love it, doing it this way, because it's the way that I wanted it to be built. And then at the end of the day, I can honestly say I am the CEO. Like, so if there's a decision that needs to be made, there's no board members. I don't have to make a board members, and I don't have to make those guys, happy. And I can just make that decision. And hey, the company's going this direction, going that direction. This is what I think.
Does that make it easier for you to live with like a harder decisions. Like you
Absolutely.
make it and you know it didn't work out the way you wanted it to, but you're good with it.
I'm good with it.
You know what, man? I get that.
Cool.
And the one thing owning the business taught me was it's okay to not know.
Absolutely.
That lesson it took me 4 years to learn. But it's okay to not have the answer. It's okay to not know. It's okay to mess it up and then go back and fix it, as long as you can plug that hole a little bit quickly.
Correct. And then you respond to going back to fix it, whatever it is. And then, relying on your leadership team. I thank God that I do have a great leadership team that, I can sit down and when we have our leadership, on one-on-one meetings, I can, say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm struggling with, or this is what I see.
Mm-hmm.
And they're always give me their opinion or their advice and counsel on whatever situation that is. And I trust that I know they're not yes men, but
Mm-hmm.
I trust that they're giving me their genuine feedback on certain situations, and that helps. It helps me say, okay, based off that feedback, let's do this, this, and this. And at the end of the day, they know that any decision I make, it's about the group. It's not I make no decisions, for me, because without them, there is no me. So I make sure those 30, 40 people are always taken care of. And any decision, any protocol, any policy or procedure I put into effect, it's about them. It's about the team.
That's an excellent point. So I gotta ask, why do people train with you, Gracie? And why do people buy houses from you? Because people exercise all over the nation, and you can buy a house without a broker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So why do you think people call you, buy from you? Why you?
So I think that
Why your agents?
Well, my agents, I think because there's a level of communication, trust, and knowledge that they're going to get, and we're going to be able to help them walk them through that gauntlet of the whole process. I mean, there's so many areas that people can get hurt, lose a lot of money, or buy a bad investment, and they don't want that. So I think that's where we come in, because we are the experts, and we make sure we're the experts on this market and your resale value, making sure. I mean, a lot of brokers, they won't tell you a lot of things that we will tell you. I mean, there's a lot of brokers that they'll let you buy houses that back up to freeways and busy streets and
So you just
commercial
give them all the
buildings.
info.
Absolutely, that's my job, because 5, 6 years from now, I want you to be able to come and say, hey, we made this amount of money versus, hey, how come I gotta bring a check to close it to sell? It's not supposed to be that way. This is one of your biggest investment, if not your biggest investment. So if we can put you in a position where you can make money, then that's how you build with that equity. That's how you build. That's how you build your net worth. Real estate.
Grace, so why you? Why you? Because we got 3 minutes. Why you, Grace? Why do people come train with you?
I would say my professionalism with them in the session.
Mm-hmm.
I would also say my positivity and my attention to detail.
Mm. Fantastic. So it has nothing to do with the money.
No, never does.
How do you get people to realize that? Because for me, I've taught sales training. I've sat with people. I've tried to encourage instructors what their prices should look like, and I go, it's not about the money. You got to build the value. It's not about the money. That sounds cool. It's hard for people to really understand that. Like, I know the value isn't what I do outside of the hour. Outside, I call it the 12 hours for 2 hours. I'll put in 12 hours of everything to give you 2 hours of exactly what is necessary for those 2 hours. So it's not about the money.
No,
Right?
that can't
Why
be your
is
own.
that always a statement?
Because people want to, I think they want to just, cater to that because it's an easy out, but it's not about the money. I mean, like you just said, you put 12 to 15 hours for a 1 hour, 2 hour session.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when we were athletes, we practiced, 4 or 5 hours a day for a 1 hour
For 60
football
minutes.
game.
Yep,
Absolutely,
for 60 minutes.
football game.
Yep.
It's the same thing with us.
7 days,
While
60 minutes.
going through this whole process here, we've trained and we've put so much, and we've been through the mental reps, and we've seen and we've been exposed to so much that we know where to look and what to do to make sure you're not, putting you in a bad situation. So.
They about to kick us out of here, man. I'm gonna have to talk to my man Kenny about extending my time, man, because I know we talk a lot and we can go on and on. Hopefully, we will help. Great. So, you got anything before we wrap this thing up?
No,
Anybody online got anything? Shoot it out. What we
I was
got?
about to say, appreciative.
Kenny, can we have 5 minutes? All right, here we go. What we got?
Appreciative of all the people that are following along online. Claudia answered your question as to why she trains with me.
Okay, what she say?
Because she knows form and will correct it. She's also fun.
There you go. There you go.
Then,
Expertise.
Dirt Food said that their fear is not having a fear. Because the fear is what has pushed them to other successes.
You know what I'm afraid of? Not moving. Like I am truly afraid of if the house is on fire. I'm afraid of I wouldn't be able to live with myself for not running in there and trying to I would, to stand and watch, be able to tell the story, I have a hard time with it. And I ain't talking like I'm Captain Superman or I know for me it would be very difficult to be able to see something go on and not do anything about it. Greg Wall Sr., shout out to old Rail, he always said, if you see a good fight, get in it. He says it all the time. So I would disappoint him if I didn't get in a good fight. So
not being ready when the opportunity, when you get an opportunity, I've always wanted to be ready. So I tell myself I'm gonna make sure I work on my craft and just be ready, man. Be ready when those opportunities open up and you're able to walk through that door because you put in your time. If you put your time in, then you get that confidence that it's just spewing, man. And people feel that, they sense that.
Anthony, where can we find you? If we wanted to work for you, if we wanted to buy a house from you, because people going to be, first of all, and you might not sell a house when this is over, everybody going to be trying to be out the house, they're going to be buying tents and canoes and you're going to have to wait. But where can we find you? Where, if somebody needed some info or some encouragement or some info about how to start a business, where do they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. I'm on Anthony Shelton. You can also find me on High Point Real Estate Associates. You can find me on Instagram, Anthony Shelton 10. Either one of those. You can also go to the website, which is teamhighpoint.com. So that's www.teamhighpoint.com. Any one of those, you'll be able to find me. Ask any questions we can. We're here to help.
Okay. And Grace, where can you find where can you find PE?
PE on Instagram, Performance Experience, and then on Twitter as well. And then just type in Performance Experience on Facebook. And then mine is Gracie, Graycee Dagnino on Instagram, and then my regular name, Gracie Dagnino, Gracie.
And Grace, I heard, because I'm gonna use these 5 minutes. Grace, I heard that you got a 3 workout programs coming out in Spanish. Talk to the people about that.
I do. I'm working on voicing over different parts to my programs. One for adults, and then 2 different pieces of speed school. One is a little bit more a level 1 in introduction. And then the second one builds on that, really geared towards the sports that have a requirement or always look to quick workout programs when preparing for the 40.
Yep, and don't let the smile fool you. She is extremely mean. She hardly gives water breaks, but she's one of the best instructors that I've ever seen. You can find Beyond the Noise on Facebook at Beyond the Noise. You can find us at getbeyondthenoise.com, and you can find this live stream at kmwi-media.com. Listen, this has been fantastic for me. So excited to have my man Anthony on the show. This won't be his last time. I'm pretty sure you guys will see a little bit more of the round-faced Mexican girl as we continue to go along. And I'm going to leave with this. It's imperative that we pay attention to what's actually going on in the world today, because these numbers, for some people, these numbers have names, and people care about those names. Those names are grandmothers and mothers and daughters and business owners and cousins. And so if we say we're here to help, let's actually do what people ask us to do and really work to help. And my final thought for the day is Carol Baskin. Yes, she did that. She did that. You guys enjoy yourself. Let's get beyond the noise. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
I hear him saying that he's going to move the table.